problem affecting this ward, which the city is ignoring. In Toronto, there are thousands of city blocks infested, and this ward is considered to be among the worst. At this time, the city has no plan in place, though there was one in the past to help us deal with this problem. But even though there are people who have near bankruptcy trying to protect their homes from this scourge, right now the only recourse we have in Canada to deal with this problem is to pump hundreds of gallons of chemicals into the ground around our houses, hoping to repel the insects. As any pest controller can tell you, this is far from foolproof. I personally know somebody who's had their house treated 3 times. I also know other house owners who have spent $120,000 on repairing their homes. On the other hand, in the US, there are innumerable and far more effective options approved and in use. If you were elected councillor, would you, 1, push the city into taking responsibility for this problem, and 2, help lobby the federal body responsible to allow us a method that actually works? What is your response, please?
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Cindy, and then we'll go to George and then Joe. So we'll try to limit it to 1 minute each, but we get a lot of questions through.
Thank you, Maggie, for your question. I've had the fortune to live in a number of other cities, including Houston. Houston is close to New Orleans where Katrina hit. The majority of houses built in New Orleans was made out of wood, and they had an incredible termite problem. It literally, the majority of the homes owned by everybody was infested with termites. It was, had the hurricane not come, we would have actually seen the solution in action. New Orleans had a proactive plan to deal with this emergency crisis. The entire economy, the houses were flooded. We should borrow from that, let our competitors pay our bills. When I say that, let the other cities who've done the work, as you raised other cities in the United States. So I'll say that we cannot wait for the federal government. We should have an aggressive interpretation of the legal powers that the City of Toronto has and answer that question now before next summer.
Thank you. Okay, George?
Technical problems are always a problem. I'm always looking for solutions that are environmentally safe, because when we start putting pesticides into the ground to stop termites, it leads to other problems down the road. The city has to take responsibility, but of course, because of the way the city has been spending money, there's a shortage of funds to take care of serious problems like this. I'm the one who's been advocating to cut some major projects to fund things like termite control, actually going in there and using safe methods. Now, that is not an easy thing to do. The companies that you're talking about in the United States, it is still an expensive process. I can't see the city funding it completely 100%, because the homeowner has some responsibility as well. But we have to look at it carefully, either a share or a tax cut basis or some other way that we could come to an environmentally safe solution. But the only way to do it, we have to start. And until we start, there won't be a solution, let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you. Sure.
Well, the subterranean termite is an immigrant from Florida. And I don't know whether you're referring to me because I used to live on Palmerston Avenue, South College, and I had termites 3 times, actually. They're difficult to deal with. So and by the way, it was paid by myself. It was not paid by the city or anybody else. The problem that the city has is that 50% of all taxes collected in the country go to the federal government. 42% of all taxes collected in the country go to provincial government. 8% go to the city. With that 8%, we're supposed to be running transit and expanded. We're supposed to run police, we're supposed to run fire, ambulance, all the roads, except for 401 and 427, because all they belong to us. We're supposed to have libraries, which we do, parks, and also, if that was good enough, we have to pay 20% of social assistance, child care, public housing. We don't have the money, however, we have to encourage more research.